What's up, fellow Hoops fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV. And as always, we are brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au. Now it's Friday morning. Friday morning means BK from NBA Australia. BK, my friend, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, my man. How you living?
I'm living great. I'm living great because you know what? The New York Knicks made a trade this morning and I'm not mad at it, BK. And I actually think it's a shrewd bit of business. So what better way to start the day? Let's get straight into this. The New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks have made a trade. The Knicks are sending... the Knicks are getting Cam Reddish, and they're sending a 22 first-round pick that they got via Charlotte, which is protected. They're also getting Solomon Hill and a second-round pick back via Brooklyn, and they're sending also Kevin Knox over to the Atlanta Hawks. BK, I think Cam Reddish is a bit of a baller. He's put up some decent numbers. Look, he's been a little bit inconsistent, but I like this move for the New York Knicks because, one, Kevin Knox I thought was a bust, and I hate to use that word, but he just didn't really live up to his potential. We're not giving much away, but we're getting a guy that's got a pretty high ceiling, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think Cam Reddish was a bit of a victim of the Atlanta Hawks just being we have way too many guys on the roster situation. So for him, you know, he'll get an opportunity in New York to kind of prove it. He's eligible for an extension at the end of this season as well. So you're going to see the best from Cam Reddish because he wants to get paid as well. So I think it's a good move from the Knicks, but it's also the start of something else for the Hawks. They get that first round pick in return. You got to think that's something they want to maybe try and package together with some other players and flip down the road because I think they will be active in the trade market. But for the New York Knicks, you get another long athletic wing who's shown that he can, you know, shoot the three-pointer as well. And he also reunites with RJ Barrett. Let's get the whole Duke squad back together.
Yeah. Hey, one more trade and we can get Zion maybe and just reunite the whole squad.
Let's get Trey Jones in there. It's New York Blue Devils.
Yes, sir. You know, you did mention about this being sort of like the first move for the Atlanta Hawks. It kind of signals to me that they might be giving up on this season, BK. They've had their struggles this year. I mean, they've been pretty bad. They're 17-23 on the season. They've lost 3 in a row, 3-7 in their last 10. Lost big to Miami yesterday or the day before. The home fans were actually chanting "Let's go Heat" at one point, which is it speaks volumes in itself, BK. You know, I look at the Atlanta Hawks and I wasn't as high on them as maybe a lot of other people. I kind of thought that they overachieved, you know, with that playoff run that they had. I was getting big 2014-15 energy where they did the same thing. They made the conference finals, come back the next year and win, you know, 20 games less or whatever it may have been. I was getting a lot of that energy from them. I can't really pinpoint one thing that's you can sort of look at it and say, this is what's gone wrong with Atlanta this year, BK. I mean, when you look at them, is there anything in particular that stands out to you?
Well, I think obviously their defense has been awful. I think they're, you know, maybe second last in defensive rating this season. And not to make excuses for them, but they have had a lot of guys in and out of the lineup due to the health and safety protocols. And a lot of them have been guys that anchor their defense, guys like Clint Capella. When you have a guy like Trae Young at point guard, you need to have a big body in the middle there that can kind of protect the rim. So he's been in and out. They've had other guys in and out of the lineup. So every team has been suffering with that as well. So it's not just an exclusive Atlanta problem. But I agree with you. I think they did overachieve last season. But, you know, I'm a big Trae Young guy. I was confident that they were at least going to be in the playoff picture this season. But as it stands right now, they have, you know, one of the worst records in the East, but they're only still 3 games out of the plane. So it's not all doom and gloom from the Hawks rather. You know, they could go on a run. We saw them do that last season and kind of turn things around. But I'm interested to see what their kind of activity is like at the trade deadline because this roster could look very different very quickly.
Yeah, I think they are going to make some moves at the trade deadline. Like I said, I actually think they might be sort of heading to the point where they've given up on this season. This move that they make today could be the first, could be the domino effect, the first dominoes down, and they're just going to make some moves at the trade deadline. It's coming up in about a month or so. We'll have to see what happens from there on. BK, all right, let's get stuck into this now, because I saw you mention Russell Westbrook yesterday in a conversation that we were having, and the Los Angeles Lakers, and you said that you might be about to jump off the Russell Westbrook bandwagon. And if you do, I'm here to catch you with open arms, my friend, because you know where I stand.
This hurts. This hurts. You know I'm a Russ guy. But his last 3 games have been tough. Some very, very poor nights shooting the ball. And it's not like he's just missing jumpers too. Like, guys, he's missing layups. Like, he's missing shots that Russell Westbrook makes. And LeBron even said as much after the game yesterday against the Kings. Like, he's just missing the shots that you expect him to make. And look, he's still impacting the game in other ways. He's getting assists, he's rebounding, he's crashing the offensive glass. But with LeBron at center and Russ having the ball in his hands so much, there was a couple of possessions where he'd pull up for a 3 that would rattle out. The Kings would get a dunk on the other end. And then, the next play down the court, he'd turn the ball over. And you're like, this is just a 5-point swing just out of no offense from the Lakers. It's tough out there for the Lakers right now.
Listen, as the president of the Australian chapter of the Russell Westbrook fan club, I, for one, welcome you aboard, BK. But I'm not ready. I'm
not ready to give up.
The Lakers are bad, BK. Obviously lost to Sacramento yesterday, 21-21 on the season. Now, I was laughing because the Sacramento Kings were trolling Russell Westbrook so much that they were playing foreigners cold as ice every time that he missed a shot or missed a free throw. He finished just 2 of 14 from the field for his 8 points. And then after the game, they asked him about that, the Cold as Ice song being played every time I missed a shot. And he laughed and said, "That's funny. I hope they played that the last 14 years too. That's cute." So listen, he's put up some stinkers for over those 14 years as well. But it was pretty bad yesterday. It was pretty bad.
And I'm not really sure what the solution is here. And we know Anthony Davis is coming back at some point later in the season. LeBron at center kind of looks like the solution for them right now. But when you look in that backcourt, they don't really have a ton of other guys that can handle the ball and initiate offense and create things for them. So it's really going to have to be just riding this through this slump. And LeBron's done nothing but show confidence in Westbrook and kind of back him to break out of this. But I don't know. I don't know where the Lakers go from here. Maybe they come back after the All-Star break, they decompress and things get better. But this is very optimistic stuff from me right here.
Yeah, very. Frank Vogel actually backed Westbrook to snap out of the slump. He just said he's just in a slump at the moment. You look at Westbrook, BK, there's trade rumors that, he's on the trading block. But honestly, he's got, I think, 90 million owing to him over the next 2 years. And just given the way that he's been playing and sort of the trajectory that his game has gone, because he was always the kind of player where his game was not going to sort of, as you get older, it was always going to get worse. Is he a movable piece, do you think?
That's a tough contract to move. But if anything that we've learned the last couple of years, no contract is untradeable. But it's finding the partner that wants Russell Westbrook that I think is going to be the issue. But I really think the Lakers, I don't think they'll make a move. I think they'll kind of just ride this through, but I think they're confident in their group, whether that's misguided or not. But you have LeBron James, so that's a pretty good start. But yeah, I just don't see a deal on the table that they're going to go, oh, okay, we have to make this deal. Like the Buddy Hield deal, that's gone. Like I don't know what the Lakers do from here.
Yeah, I saw a report where it said that apparently the 76ers have explicitly said that they don't want to do a Simmons for Westbrook trade. And I'm like, yeah, of course you wouldn't.
Can you imagine Embiid and Westbrook on the same team?
For many reasons, like you don't want that trade to happen. BK, one guy that's actually not struggling right now, my guy. I was wavering a little bit on this guy here, RJ Barrett. I always saw the potential in him, but I always felt like he was a little bit inconsistent. Maybe started out the season a little bit inconsistently, but he has been absolutely scorching for the Knicks in recent times. Had that great game winner against the Celtics as well, BK. Super impressive during the month of January. He's averaging 24.5 points per game. And he's done it while shooting 18 of 42 from long distance as well, which was one of his weaknesses. BK, has he finally turned a corner and become that guy that we always expected him to be?
Yeah, I mean, I was always a big RJ Barrett guy. I thought he was going to be a great player at the next level. He came in obviously with a lot of hype, coming in with the number 3 pick. But I think he's finally starting to figure things out. The game looks like it's slowing down for him. And like you said, just with the shooting, the confidence that he's kind of playing with now, when he's able to knock down shots from the perimeter, it just opens up so much more of his game because he is good at getting to the rim and attacking the paint and getting inside. He's a big guard. He can finish at the rim well. So I ask you, is he the Knicks' best player?
Yes. Over the last month, yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the short answer. That's the short answer because, I mean, they're missing so many guys as well. Randall hasn't been the Randall that we saw last season. I actually think Mitchell Robinson is probably the Knicks' most important player to a certain degree, just because he changes the game defensively whenever he's on the court and changes the dynamic of that team. But over the last month, without a question, RJ Barrett has been the best and most consistent New York Knick. He's had 30 or more points in 3 of his last 6 games. By comparison, he'd scored at least 30 points just 3 times in his first 158 games. So shout out to RJ. Shout out for bringing us some dubs. The Knicks snapped Dallas's 6-game winning streak at the Garden yesterday. So we're back, baby. We're back.
Go New York. Go New York. Go.
You already know. BK, we actually started a new segment here on Wednesday when we had Moke Hamilton as our guest, and we're going to bring it over to Friday as well. It's called Buying or Selling. Now, the Brooklyn Nets had a big win yesterday over the Chicago Bulls in Chicago. It was actually their first win against a top-tier opponent this season. They were 0-8 prior to yesterday's win, but they won in pretty convincing fashion. So my question to you, BK, is that was a Brooklyn Nets statement win. Are you buying or are you selling this?
Oh, I'm buying all of this. And for the point that you illustrated earlier, they hadn't been good against the elite competition in the league this season. Their big 3 was out on the court. Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Patty Mills. Shout out Kyrie Irving.
Sorry, I just picked up on that.
But Kyrie, Harden, and Durant just haven't played together at all. I think they've played 16 games, regular season games together. They're 13-3 in those games. And it wasn't so much that they beat the Bulls; they beat the brakes off the Bulls. Like this was a statement win. I know the Bulls were coming off the second night of a back-to-back, but still, the Brooklyn Nets, like, it just kind of showed you when they have those 4 guys firing on all cylinders. And Kyrie didn't necessarily play a great game yesterday, but just when you have that level of talent out there, it just kind of shows you a glimpse of like what this team can be. And Harden and KD kind of intimated as much in the post game. Though, like, this is kind of the potential that we see in this team, is that we can overwhelm teams like this with the guys they have out on the floor. So I'm all in on this.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you, BK. I'm selling this, and I'll tell you why I'm selling it, because there are no statement games in the NBA in the month of January. There are no statement games in the NBA in the month of December or February or March. The statement games happen in late April, May, and into June. What happens at that point of the season, I mean, what happens in this point of the season has no relevance on what happens later on. No one's going to remember the Nets beating the Chicago Bulls in January once the playoffs roll around. When the playoffs roll around, if your big 3 is firing, that's when you want them to be firing. I think, Kevin Durant said something along those lines post-game. He had a good quote. He said, "We're not trying to make no statements to the league. Who cares what they think? We know what we bring to the table, and it's all about us." I'm sure people were watching that game tonight. They know what they've got, right? And look, granted, their big 3 hasn't played a lot together. That's only their 16th game in the short time that they've been together. They're 13-3 in those games. They've got the talent to beat pretty much anybody they want on any given night. So I don't think it was a statement win. Steve Nash was playing it down prior to the game as well. I think the Nets really want to make their statements in May and in June when the playoffs and the finals come around.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The fact that it was on the road, I think, does add to the confidence that I think the Nets will take away from that. I mean, they lost to the Bulls earlier this season, but I still am uneasy about the Nets because I don't know what the lineup is going to look like come playoff time. Obviously, the Kyrie Irving situation that still looms. I mean, there was the reports of them just having to pay that small fine to get Kyrie to play home games. Like you can
nonsense.
You can pay that fine. But I don't know. Do you think these are going to be the two teams left standing at the end, or do you think Milwaukee's going to interrupt this conversation between the Nets and the Bulls?
I'm still riding with Milwaukee until I see something concrete from them that makes me believe that they can't go back to back. So I'm still riding with Milwaukee, but these are the teams that are in the conversation. It's going to be Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Chicago, Miami. They're the teams that are going to be in there. So we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of regular season basketball left to be played, BK. Let's move on to these game predictions for today, and then we'll keep it moving. We've got 5 games on the NBA schedule today. This one's going to be a fun one, BK. Golden State Warriors, Milwaukee Bucks. Look at that. Money's dead even here. $1.93 for both of them. The line's at 1. Totals at 224.5. Live on ESPN, BK. Bucks have lost 2 in a row. They've dropped down to 4th in the Eastern Conference. Warriors lost to the Memphis Grizzlies, which there is absolutely no shame in losing to that team. No Draymond for the Warriors today. No George Hill or Drew Holiday for the Milwaukee Bucks. This is, as the money shows there, it's a pretty even game and pretty much a, flip a coin kind of game, BK.
Yeah, both teams missing key players there, but Drew Holiday being out is scary because you've got Klay Thompson and Steph Curry there. So getting a hold of those two guys, that's a big out for the Bucks. But I still like the Bucks in this one. I think Giannis has been playing at an extremely high level over the past couple of weeks. The wins haven't necessarily been there, but on the big stage, big nationally televised game, I'm a rock with Giannis and the Bucks.
Shout out to you, BK. That's it. I'm going with the Greek man as well. Giannis to get the job done against the Golden State Warriors. Next game we've got on here, we've got the Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves, BK. Grizzlies franchise record 10-game winning streak, so they're clear favorites here. $1.61. Minnesota Timberwolves $2.41. Line is at 4. Totals at 231. That one's on League Pass today. The Grizzlies are now 3rd in the West, BK. They've overtaken Utah. The Wolves are just 9-11 away from home. No Steven Adams, no Dylan Brooks for Memphis. Jalen now listed as day-to-day for the Wolves, BK. I think this one goes without saying. That record streak's going to 11, the franchise record streak. 11 for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, I'm never picking against the Grizzlies again. They're going to go undefeated the rest of the way.
I'm not mad at that. All right, next game up on the schedule, we have, what did you call this one before, BK?
This is the Aussie Bowl. We got Josh Giddey versus Patty Mills.
The Aussie Bowl. Brooklyn Nets, $1.42 favorites. Oklahoma City Thunder, $3. Lines at 5.5. Totals at 216.5. This one's live on SBS Viceland. Brooklyn having that win last night in Chicago. Like we said, 13-3 when their big three has played together. OKC have lost 5 in a row, just 5-14 away from home. This one's at the Clays, so no Kyrie Irving for the Brooklyn Nets, BK. I think the Nets go back-to-back wins here. This one's going to be pretty easy too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, no Kyrie is a big one for the Nets, but they're got to get used to this. So I like the Thunder as an upstart team that can kind of stay in these kind of games, but the Nets have too much here.
Yeah, too much firepower. Agreed. Last NBA game that we're going to take a look at here is the Portland Trail Blazers, Denver Nuggets. Nuggets, $1.17. Favorites, Portland Trail Blazers, $5.60. Lines at 11. Totals at 210. Live on ESPN as well. No, Will Barton probable for this game. Trail Blazers have won 2 in a row, but no Lillard, no McCollum, no Anthony Simons, and no Larry Nance Jr. makes this easy money for the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, no chance for the Portland Trail Blazers. Yeah, I'm rocking with the Nuggets in this one. That's a no-brainer.
That one's easy money right there. And there's also one NBL game that we're going to take a look at, BK, just real quick before we get out of here. Melbourne United, New Zealand Breakers tonight. Breakers actually had their first win of the season. So they've gotten off the board there, but United are favourites, $1.45. New Zealand, $2.75. Lines at 4. Totals at 162. Live on ESPN tonight at 7:30, BK. New Zealand are not going to make it 2 wins in a row. Melbourne United, again, easy money today. Easy money today, all of these games, I reckon.
Yeah, cash the checks. United's favourites for a reason.
Yeah, there you have it. All right, BK, we're going to let you get out of here. We're going to see you again on Monday morning, as usual. Looking forward to it. Going to be a big weekend of NBA action. This has been another episode of The Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au. Have a good weekend, guys. We'll see you on Monday.